Last on Everdark. Julian and Christian went back in time with Camorn to see how the Callie sliced. Last on Everdark. Artemis Callie confirms that he left the soul gems containing the souls of Julian's parents in the one place where Damon cannot go, Moonfall. Episode 124, Into the Unknown.
How do we get to Moonfall?
Julian asked firmly. His gaze went around the room, but no one would look at him except Christian. His best friend tilted his head meaningfully towards Damon. Julian gritted his teeth. He was going. It didn't matter what Damon said. He loved Damon. He was Damon's child. Damon was his master. Damon was his king. But he was going. He had to go get his parents. He couldn't sit back and wait. But Damon could not go with him. Moonfall was out of bounds for the Vampire King for some reason. He thought it likely a reason that Damon could not, or would not, explain. Julian lifted his eyes to the Vampire King's, knowing that no one would be able to gainsay Damon but him. Damon's expression was curiously blank. His mind was also smooth, like the surface of a glassy sea where everything was happening under the surface.
I'm going.
Julian said over their bond.
Say something. Tell me you understand. Tell me you don't.
Artemis Callie let out a cackling laugh. Of course he would want to go, Damon. Artemis Callie sneered. And you knew that. Damon stated without looking over at Artemis Callie. You knew he would wish to go. So you put the soul gems in the depths of Moonfall. Artemis Callie sauntered up to the front of his cage. Of course. Everything he's done in his very short life told me he'd insist on going. Are you going to let him?
I'm going,
Julian repeated. Are you going to risk losing him after everything you've given up to have him? Artemis Callie wheedled.
I'll be careful. I'll take with me whoever you want,
Julian said.
I faced Callie's dead on my own. I can do this.
Moonfall is different, Damon said. I could see what was happening on the museum grounds, but I cannot see there. I cannot see anything beyond you going there. Julian's eyes widened.
So I do go, and
I do not see you return, Julian. Damon's mind voice was ragged. Artemis Callie continued in a sing-song voice of a demented child. Julian doesn't even care about all that, does he? No, he just wants his parents and—
Shut up!
Julian's voice rang out, but he hadn't just yelled. He had Artemis Callie by the throat, even though his hand was 3 feet distant from the other vampire. It was the power of the Asher bloodline. It had come to him as easily as breathing, but a part of him, shrewd and cool, reminded him that anything accessed and used in anger often backfired. Anger gave strength, but it also led to many bad decisions. Yet Artemis Callie's silver eyes bulged as he clawed at his throat, and Julian couldn't help but be glad. There was shock in those eyes as well. Artemis Callie hadn't expected Julian to do this. Maybe he hadn't thought that Julian could.
I am not the little boy whose parents you stole,
Julian hissed at Artemis Callie.
I am not the young man who you sought to kill. I am the vampire prince, and you will be silent.
One doesn't mess with the vampire prince. Balthazar laughed softly. Go you, Julian. We have all we need from them, Damon stated. Let us be done here. Clearly the Vampire King had looked into Artemis Callie's mind and gotten what he wanted and needed about the location of his parents' soul gem. Julian tossed Artemis Callie against the back of the cell, not enough to break his back, but hard enough that he let out a oomph and a hiss, as like a cat, he landed on his feet. Julian continued to stare at him. He knew that his eyes were burning red like Damon's, as everything had a crimson tint. Artemis Callie looked back at him balefully, but was the first to drop his eyes and said nothing. Julian bared his fangs. Fine tremors were running through him. Rage and grief and, strangely, hope filled him and made him want to smash Artemis Callie into a fine paste. Julian? Damon's mind voice was soothing, like cool water on overheated skin.
They took my parents from me. I lived every day since then with the need for revenge.
Julian told him, blinking back angry tears.
And that is the least of what they've done wrong. They cannot get away with this, Damon. That smirk needs to be wiped off their face. And
You have, Damon stated. They're afraid of you. Despite what Callie says about being fine about being here, being abandoned by their other selves, they aren't. They are playing their last card, and you didn't play back.
this isn't enough. I want.
Julian's hands curled into fists. Damon curled one of his hands over Julian's right fist. Julian found himself releasing those fingers as Damon rubbed his thumb in a circle over the back of his hand. He let out a breath that he didn't know he was holding. Letting Callie live in your head is exactly what they want. It's all they have left. We must be smarter than them, Damon stated simply.
How can you be so calm?
Because they only got this far. Because I let them get this far, Damon said, and he sounded so sad. Everything they did was because I was not here, and that includes your parents' deaths and imprisonment.
But you didn't.
I wouldn't change it, Julian, Damon stated simply. Julian's head jerked up and his eyes widened.
What? Why?
Because it was the only way I would get to have you, Damon explained.
But we would have met.
Your former mortal life was but a flicker of time, Damon told him. You must understand that such a flicker is there and over and gone. Julian wanted to argue that his parents would have filled him in on the secret of Nightvallen, that he would have gone with them and he would have found Damon's tomb, but he stopped with that line of thought. Damon had only drunk from him because Julian offered his life up for Christians. Julian had only drunk Damon's blood because Damon had failed to protect Christian, and it was the only way to save his best friend. Would there have been a moment when either of them would have taken the risks they had? Damon was saying no. No rose cutting into his skin, no lips at his throat, no immortal blood flowing over his tongue. Only desperation and the driving force of his parents' deaths and Christian's near one would have pushed him to that moment. It had happened the only way it could have happened.
They had to die so we would find one another?
Julian confirmed softly. This was the only way. Seer saw it, even if I did not, Damon answered. Julian couldn't imagine not being with Damon. He couldn't imagine not being his child. He couldn't imagine them not having an eternity together. But their lives could have easily been like two ships passing in the night. So my anger with Callie is great, but I chose this fate for both of us, Julian, Damon told him as his thumb ran over the infinity tattoo on his wrist.
I understand.
Julian lifted his head so that his eyes were fixed on Damon's.
Can we get my parents back, though? Is it too much to ask that I have you and them? Is fate gonna say no?
Seer awaits us upstairs. She will have the answers, even if she can only tell us so much, Damon said.
Perhaps we should speak elsewhere,
Fiona suggested, as if she had heard Damon's last words. Somehow it felt like fate. Damon gave a nod. Arceus said,
Elgar and I will remain on guard here.
Good. Though we will need you both later, Balthazar said.
I'll arrange guards.
Arceus answered with a nod. Fiona teleported them all upstairs to the dining room. Balthazar sat down in a chair heavily. He looked exhausted and worn. Mephi mewed piteously and bunted to Balthazar's cheek with his head. Julian frowned. The Eiros vampire needed to rest and recover. He was not up for a mission right now, but Julian couldn't imagine going to Moonfall without Christian. But Balthazar would balk at Christian going without him. Caemorn sat down in the center of the table, fingers laced together before him. He looked unruffled and totally calm, which told Julian, even without dipping himself into Caemorn's thoughts, that the Callie vampire was anything but. There was no anger in Julian any longer at Caemorn. Callie was the puppet master, and if Caemorn could truly bring Julian's parents back, well, like Damon had said, It would be good for Julian to have such a resourceful vampire in his corner. Fiona paced around the table. Her arms were crossed loosely over her chest. Her expression was grim and she nibbled her lower lip. Her faraway gaze had Julian guessing that she was thinking about a plan for Moonfall. Finally, Christian moved to Balthazar's side and rested a gentle hand on his master's shoulder, but his eyes never left Julian. They had worked so long together, been friends so long that they could read each other's minds without the Iros bloodline gift. Christian knew Julian wanted him to come to Moonfall, and Christian wanted that too. Julian could not sit. Tension had him standing rigid. Energy thrummed through him. Damon still held his hand, still traced that symbol of eternity on it. "So, what's our plan?" Balthazar asked, looking grey and ill. There was a soft knock on the door. Damon called, "Come in, Seer." Julian swallowed, but only his eyes flickered to the door. He was holding himself so rigidly that it felt like he might break into pieces if he attempted to move. Seer would determine whether he went to get his parents or not, but he sensed that maybe she might be determining whether his parents were gotten at all. Sophia preceded her mistress. Seer had a hand on Sophia's right shoulder. Julian suddenly worried that her health had taken a turn for the worse. Her ability to see the future normally allowed her to know where the obstacles were before her, but she was very much using Sophia's eyes. She smiled at Julian then, picking him out in the room.
"Do not worry, Prince Julian. Sometimes when one is looking farther ahead, one does not see the obstacles directly in one's path."
How far are you looking ahead, Seer?
Fiona had stopped her pacing.
"Very far and very near. This is a crucial moment, I'm afraid. One of those points that changes everything."
Seer explained as Sophia led her to a seat. Damon pulled the seat out for her and slid it back into place beneath her. She thanked him.
It's about my parents, isn't it?
Julian rushed out.
Callie left the soul gems in Moonfall, and...
"And you wish to go retrieve them, of course."
She finished for him with a smile.
Everdark is the first story, completed at 147 chapters. Everdark Academy, where Kaymorn is a main character, is also completed at 169 chapters. If you want to catch up and go on to Everdark Equinox, the third installment, you can join the membership and hopefully the comment section at the end of the latest chapter.
Yes, but
Julian licked his lips.
Damon doesn't see me leaving that place. If I go in, he doesn't see me come out.
Correction. He doesn't see anything at all once you go there.
She stated.
That sounds worse.
Julian's shoulders stiffened. He had a momentary qualm then about going after his parents. He hated himself for it. If they were dead and truly could not be brought back, he could accept that. But they were trapped in the soul gems. They would be there forever unless retrieved.
No, it is an important distinction. Damon has told you before that he cannot see his own future.
Seer said gently. Her elegant, long fingers played over the highly polished tabletop. She looked to be making a symbol, but he couldn't tell what it was at first.
So he cannot see what happens beyond that point in time. Because what happens after that is, well, I don't want to say it is his story because it is all of ours. But he is king.
Those words that had always brought a smile to Julian's face, or sometimes a roll of his eyes, now seemed, well, he was starting to understand what they meant. "Julian does not have to go there at all," Balthazar said stoutly. "I will go with a few others. Fiona, you have no objection to going, do you? We could bring Arceus, Elgar, and even Kaymorn." Kaymorn lifted his head. He had been studying his interlaced fingers. He gave a grateful nod at Balthazar. He would go. Julian gritted his teeth. He wanted desperately to get to his parents, but if so much was at risk, if it was him to do it, then...
"Julian must go,"
Seer said softly. Sophia lightly petted her shoulder. She looked up at Julian sadly. What did that mean? "Why?" Damon asked. "Indeed. Why? I've been to Moonfall," Balthazar frowned. "Between Kaymorn and I, we can find where that little shit left the soul gems and—"
"No,"
Seer said just as softly. "And she, too." looked sad. Balthazar banged the table with one hand. Why the hell not? Julian was just turned. He's strong. He's got balls. But sending him into Moonfall on his own when...
Not alone, Eros. With one other person.
Seer interrupted, her voice still so terribly soft.
With me.
Christian stated more than questioned as he straightened. Good grief, no! Balthazar was sitting rigid in his chair. Absolutely not! The two of you are not yet ready to do something like this on your own, and...
We've been training for this all our lives.
Julian found himself saying. He and Christian smiled at one another.
We've risked our lives countless times when we were mortal. We've even fought monsters from the Everdark, though we didn't know it at the time. But we did it and made it back. We can do this.
Christian agreed with a nod. No. This is insane. Balthazar glared at Seer. Are you honestly telling me that these two very young vampires need to go to the most dangerous place in the Everdark on their own? In order to do what? What exactly will happen if they don't go?
No one else can retrieve the soul gems,
Seer said, and hesitated as if she would say more, but stopped herself. Balthazar winced. He looked up at Julian and down. Julian, I know that you want your parents returned to you, but...
It's not just them. I wouldn't risk Christian's life again, not even to save my parents.
Julian told him with suddenly dry lips. He could feel something momentous about all of this.
But my parents would be stuck forever in that prison if we don't find those soul gems. Not moving on, just stuck.
Not stuck. Not forever. Because you forgot about the vampire's gift of immortality, Julian, Balthazar said, looking grayer still. You and Christian can get stronger and really train for this, and then go into Moonfall when you're ready. Your parents would rather you took the time to be safe than coming in for them half-cocked. Damon won't say that, but I will. You aren't ready.
They have to go now.
Seer said in that calm, sure tone.
It must just be the two of them.
God damn it, Seer! Balthazar hissed as he hit the table once again. Stop with this. They don't have to go. The Harrows wouldn't want the boys to die for them. They wouldn't want it.
It is not just that, Eros,
she said.
Certain things must happen for this all to work.
And I'm telling you, Balthazar pointed at her sightless face, that Damon did not go to sleep, that I didn't die, that you weren't tortured, that all this crap didn't happen just so we could lose everything now. Damon will not survive losing Julian, and I sure as damn won't losing Christian. So...
There's something more at stake,
she persisted.
Perhaps everything more.
I don't believe that, Seer, Balthazar snarled. We make our own destiny. And I... The fighting dimmed in Julian's ears. He heard something else. It was Caemorn. Caemorn was telling him something. Julian found himself using the Eiros bloodline gift.
Here. Go here.
A picture of a map appeared in Julian's mind. He recognized the old church on Fellow Street.
On the side, that's the gate for Moonfall.
Caemorn was thinking.
This is the symbol you need to draw to get in.
Julian glanced at Damon, but the Vampire King was looking at Balthazar and Seer battle it out.
Why are you doing this? Helping like this?
Julian asked.
You adore Damon. He won't forgive you for this.
No, perhaps he won't.
There was endless grief there, but Caemorn controlled it, shoving it away from view.
But Seer wouldn't risk the two of you unless it meant the alternative is much, much worse.
Caemorn did not look at him as he said this.
It's something to do with Damon's rule, I think. Something about how it'll go, and whether things with Callie can be fixed.
Julian's forehead furrowed and his head throbbed. There was a flash, and he saw cities burning, people screaming, running, terror. There was another flash, and he saw Damon, smiling and happy, speaking to reporters. Two futures, and everything would depend on this.
But why? How?
Julian couldn't see those answers. Maybe it was the butterfly effect. A butterfly flapped its wings and an empire toppled or was raised. This was the Seer bloodline gift, he realized. Caemorn's voice was insistent as he said,
You cannot ask Damon and Balthazar to let you go. They won't. Not even for the world's sake. That's why you must do it on your own.
You think we can succeed?
Julian lifted an eyebrow.
Or are you hoping to take my place?
We both know that would never happen. The only question is whether you can take this chance for him.
Camorn answered calmly.
It's not a question.
Damon was still loosely holding his hand. His head was still turned towards Balthazar and Seer. It was a momentary inattention. Damon couldn't see his own future, and because of that, he couldn't see Julian's either. It was something he would likely curse himself for later, but it was what Julian needed, if he could do it.
2 teleportation jumps. Yeah, sure, this will work.
Julian told himself.
Oh my god, this is insane!
I refuse to believe in fate, Balthazar yelled. Not if fate takes Christian away from me. Seer, you! Julian teleported across the room to his best friend. He grabbed Christian, who was already anticipating him, and teleported again. His eyelids flew open. He hadn't thought it would work, but it had, and they had seconds, less than seconds.
Come on!
Julian cried as he raced towards the side of the church, where Camorn indicated that the gate was. It looked like a decorated symbol on the side of the church, of the moon falling towards the ocean. It wasn't that old of a church, but the stones that made up this side had been taken from somewhere else and made a part of it. These were ancient.
Julian, here, to cut yourself.
Christian tossed him a broken bottle. Julian slashed his finger and painted the symbol that would open the gate. There was a whooshing sound, and the stone became opaque. Then the tunnel was there, just like it had been for them under the library when they had gone to Nightvallen. At that moment, Damon called his name. Julian! Julian half-turned even as he grasped Christian's hand.
I have to do this. It's not just about my parents, it's about you. I can't have that bad future for you.
Julian, no.
Damon.
Julian met his beloved's eyes.
Trust me.
Damon stared at him with such anguish that it felt like the skin was being flayed from Julian's body just looking at him.
I will come back to you.
Julian sent.
I swear it. Trust me.
You must. Damon's voice was so bleak. You must.
I will.
Julian vowed.
I promise.
He and Christian then leaped through the gate. Join us next time for episode 125, World's End.
In Everdark, Camorn started as the villain that you love to hate, and then became many people's favorite character as Camorn's complex and painful backstory came out. It turns out that my readers love a redeemed villain even more than I do, and my members demanded that Camorn get his own love story. That's exactly what I'm doing in Everdark Equinox, the third installment in the Everdark story world. If you love Camorn, you will love not only Everdark Academy, the completed second installment where he's a main character, but Everdark Equinox, where he literally meets his other half. While you really do need to read Everdark Academy first, you can at least check out the beautiful artwork of Camorn and Quinn we have so far, and there will be more. Link to the story art is in the notes.
Last on Everdark. Julian and Christian, with Camorn's help, boldly go off to Moonfall on their own to save the souls of Julian's parents and the future. Episode 125, World's End. The sickening lurch of exiting a gate had Christian gritting his teeth in order to keep from vomiting. He didn't think he'd ever get used to that. Teleporting was almost just as bad, and he'd been teleported plus gone through a gate. He really deserved a prize for not throwing up all over Julian's boots. But the nausea he felt fell away as he saw what was before them. The gate had taken them to a new area of the Everdark. They were standing at the top of a rocky path on the side of a mountain. The path led down towards a gorge below them that was shrouded in mist. He felt the pull of the Harrow souls from somewhere beyond that mist. But that was not what caught and kept his attention. The moons. The twin moons. They were broken, shattered. It was as if a giant had cut them in two and then smashed the remaining pieces into bits. They were breaking further apart. The force of whatever had done this was still causing them to hurtle away from one another. The destruction was shocking. What could have done that? What was going to happen to the Everdark because of it?
What's happened here?
Julian breathed out. Julian's face was lit with the red and blue destroyed moons. There was pain in his eyes, as if he was seeing a beautiful work of art marred beyond repair. Christian agreed with him. This was wrong. There were red streaks in the night sky. Pieces of the moons were falling towards the Everdark. Some would burn up in the atmosphere, but others might be too big.
Might be. No, some are too big, and when they strike the ground.
He thought of the Tunguska event in 1908 in Russia. It was a massive explosion that flattened 80 million trees, but thankfully only killed 3 people because it happened over a sparsely occupied region. The thinking was that the explosion was caused by an impact event, by a meteorite, though no crater had been found to this day. His mind then danced to what he'd read of the Chicxulub crater in the Yucatan. The timing of that event coincided with the Cretaceous-Paleogene boundary and was commonly thought to have led to a climate change that killed the dinosaurs. The chunks of moons, if they made their way down to the Everdark surface, would make those impacts seem like a light pat.
Everything will be destroyed. How could this have happened in the short time since we were in Solace? And wouldn't the vampires there have alerted us? Wouldn't Damon have sensed it? Was this what Seer saw?
Christian asked.
And if so, why didn't she just speak plainly? For God's sake, there are people here.
Perhaps not here, not in Moonfall. But what about the other vampire cities? People had to be evacuated. Precious objects of art, magical weapons, and any texts had to be saved, as much as could be saved. He assumed that the vampires would know this, would see the devastation and run for their second lives.
But it would be better if they had a leader. Already, things probably seem apocalyptic to them, with Damon's return and the end of the Order.
He turned to look back at the location of the gate they had come through, but it was no longer there. Like the one that had taken them to Nightvallen, this gate was a one-way ticket. There was no way to simply go back. Christian tried to reach Balthazar's mind to tell him what they were seeing, but he could not sense his master at all. He swallowed dryly.
Maybe we shouldn't have gone here on our own. This is beyond us,
Christian stated, feeling that this was simply too big for them to handle.
We had to. No choice. The only way this will work.
Julian whispered, even as the horror grew on his face.
What to work?
Christian demanded. Julian seemed to have more knowledge than he did. He trusted his best friend implicitly, but he wanted to know what was going on.
Everything. The way things will be. If we stayed, it would be awful. We had to come here, Christian. We had to come alone.
The words rushed out of Julian's mouth.
And if we succeed, everything will be fine. I can't explain it. I don't know why, but it's true. How can everything be fine with this?
Christian gestured to the destruction. He saw Julian's Adam's apple bob up and down his throat as his best friend swallowed deeply.
I don't know.
Christian could feel Julian's terror for Damon. His best friend feared that he had left the Vampire King the one time that Damon might have actually needed him. But there was also a strong thread of certainty that this was the right move.
We're here, and it cannot be undone. So I must make him focus on that certainty. I'll focus on it as well. Don't get me wrong, Julian,
Christian said, not wanting his best friend to think he regretted anything. He didn't.
I think it's fitting that you and I are on our own in the Everdark. This is how we began our journey after all. It also may be how we end it.
Julian's gaze swung from the destroyed moons to him.
This isn't the end.
Christian hadn't actually meant to say that. He opened his mouth to say something, but then the ground suddenly rumbled beneath his and Julian's feet, and his words were lost. Julian reached out and caught Christian's arm, helping to steady him. There was a cracking sound, and Christian saw a rift open on the ground ahead of them. The path started to collapse into it.
Come on!
Julian cried.
Run for it!
The two of them dashed forward at vampire speed. Then they both leaped as the ground crumbled beneath them. They landed gracefully on slightly firmer earth on the opposite side. Christian spun around to see the place where they had been standing, only to see it slide into an abyss. And that wasn't the end of the destruction. The path was still disintegrating. Both of them took several large steps back as the ground proceeded to shake and shimmy like someone trying to get into too tight pants. He closed his eyes and counted to 10. The movement stopped. He opened his eyes and let a breath hiss out of his teeth.
What's happening?
Julian asked.
The Everdark is coming apart!
Christian cried. It wasn't just the moons. It was this entire place. That wasn't a scientific determination. It was simply a factual statement. He had no idea what was going on, but it was clear that it was something world-ending.
But how? Why? Did Damon know? Did Seer? Is this happening everywhere?
Julian asked the questions that were on Christian's mind, but then a sudden strange look crossed his best friend's face. Julian's eyes went from purple to red, and it was as if he wasn't seeing anything before him any longer. He winced and put his right hand to his temple.
Ah! What is it?
Christian was immediately in front of him.
Seer, her gift. It's a son of a bitch. I don't know how Sophia's so nice and perky all the time. Every time I see the future, it feels like my brains are leaking out of my ears.
Julian remarked with a dry laugh.
Did you at least see something?
Christian wondered if he wanted to know what was coming. Julian's eyes narrowed and his forehead furrowed.
I could see.
Christian couldn't bear the silence, as it stretched out for too long in his opinion.
What?
Julian drew in deep breaths to steady himself and slowly lowered his hand.
The end. The end of what? Wait, I don't want to know.
But he didn't have a chance to say that out loud, as Julian was suddenly turning and heading down the path that was left before them.
Come on, we have to get going. I don't think there's much time. Can you sense my parents?
Julian asked.
I can.
Christian jogged to reach his best friend's side.
Straight ahead, into that mist we can't see past.
Julian let out a dry chuckle.
Of course, that would be where we need to go.
The two of them loped down the path in silence. There were more ominous rumbles, and the ground continued to tremble beneath their feet. Yet now that they were expecting the seismic activity, both of them kept upright easily. But Christian's chest grew tight every time the ground shook. The path could give out. A chunk of moon could fall on their heads. Julian could teleport them again, he supposed, hopefully onto more stable ground. But Christian still felt his heart lurch when the ground did. This was all wrong, wrong, wrong. The Everdark was as eternal as...
Damon.
Christian thought with unease.
The connection Damon has to the Everdark is profound. If this is happening all over it, then... No, it must not be. It must only be happening here, a place where Damon cannot go. But that makes no sense. Isn't the Everdark one place?
But maybe it wasn't. Balthazar had described each Everdark city as a pocket universe. No one had ever been able to go from one city in the Everdark to another. Maybe because the creatures that infested the place were simply too fearsome for even vampires. But maybe the cities simply weren't in the same Everdark at all, but in all different Everdarks.
Then maybe this is the only place falling apart. That sounds way too hopeful.
The mist was now not below them, but all around them. It curled almost sensuously around their limbs. Christian had the impression that it might tighten its grip and yank them into a foul embrace of some monster. But though the mist dimmed their ability to see what was coming more than 3 feet ahead of them, their other senses became keener. Christian could smell the stone of the mountain, minerals and icy water. He let one free hand drift along the mountain wall. The mist left it clammy and slick, but he wasn't sure how much of the path remained on the other side of them. Better to stick close to it. Every step they took caused a faint echo that told him that there was a considerable drop to the left of them.
We don't know how to get back, Julian,
Christian said suddenly.
Unlike with Nightfallen, we don't have your parents' journals to lead us to the way out.
He could see his best friend's jaw tighten.
I imagine if the way out is not obvious, then Kaymorn would have told me about it. Assuming it has not crumbled away or been cut off by a rock slide. So it was Kaymorn who urged you to do this? So he was the one to lead us here.
Christian murmured.
I thought perhaps it was Seer, Fiona, or Sophia. No. They said what they felt and knew out loud for everyone to hear, I think.
Julian answered.
Kaymorn pointed out the fact that we wouldn't ask for permission to go. We just had to? Yeah, that would be his way of thinking.
Christian said with a nod.
He was right. Damon and Balthazar would never put us in danger like this, even to save themselves.
Julian said as he surged forward faster. There was a far more threatening rumble, and rock and dirt fell down upon them. Christian looked up and saw that the way into the gorge was through a narrow pass between two sides of the mountain. It appeared the mountain was hollow in the middle, perhaps an old volcano. He wasn't sure.
Let's get to a clearer space.
Christian urged as a chunk of stone the size of a baseball smacked into the ground right where his left foot had been seconds before. The whoosh of air had alerted him to its approach, and he had gotten out of its way lightning quick.
Right.
They dashed through the narrow part of the path, and just as they made it to the other side, there was a crashing sound, and the ground seemed to dance beneath them. Looking over his shoulder, Christian saw that stones had rained down and blocked their way back.
I'm glad our destination is forward,
Christian stated.
Yeah.
Julian agreed. Christian heard his best friend think.
Please tell me that I haven't brought Christian to another place in the Everdark to die.
Everdark is the first story completed at 147 chapters. Everdark Academy, where Caemorn is a main character, is also completed at 169 chapters. If you want to catch up and go on to Everdark Equinox, the third installment, you can join the membership and hopefully the comment section at the end of the latest chapter.
You haven't, and I wouldn't have let you go without me. And remember, the two of us had to go.
Christian patted Julian's shoulder.
You're getting better at reading minds.
Julian gave him a mirthless smile.
And you're getting better at everything else.
Christian's gaze was drawn below them. The mist cleared for a moment, and he could see the bottom of the gorge. There was a rectangular white stone structure surrounded by trees with one of those white stone pathways leading toward it. Part of the roof was caved in, and Christian could see a faint glow emanating from inside. The glow was golden and flickering.
A fire?
Julian had seen it too.
Maybe. Are my parents' soul gems in there?
Julian asked. The building was the only structure in the bowl-shaped depression, but there was no saying that Artemis Callie had left the gems inside. Christian closed his eyes and felt for the silver threads that would lead him to the Harrow's souls. Even with his eyes closed, he could still see the path in front of him, though it was in black and white instead of color. The two streaming lines of silver threads led directly into the building. He opened his eyes.
Yes, they're inside.
Christian's heart leaped into his throat as he said it. Could they really be so close to Julian's parents? Would it be possible to bring them back? His excitement was so keen that it caused a bitter metallic taste to flood his mouth as adrenaline squirted into his bloodstream. Julian's emotions were so huge that Christian couldn't even feel the edges of them. Without words, the two of them started down the path again.
It goes without saying that there will be traps. Artemis Callie wouldn't have let the soul gems go unprotected.
As they approached the end of the path, Christian took in the stone structures. Unlike the cities that appeared to be part of the Everdark landscape, almost as if they had been grown there, this structure was different. Though it was made of the same white stone that characterized most structures in the Everdark, there were seams, showing how various hunks of stone had been placed one atop the other and cemented in place. That was not how the rest of the Everdark structures were at all. They were smooth and without seams. Christian also saw that there were carved decorations on the various chunks of stone. None of them matched the other, though.
Someone has built this with pieces of other Everdark structures.
Christian realized and frowned. This couldn't have been done quickly or easily. Someone had taken time to do this. They had been deliberate. There was a cracking sound, and the ground began to shake again. Another slab of roof crashed down inside.
My parents!
Julian cried. Christian could well imagine the gems getting crushed beneath those white stones. Both of them picked up speed.
I'm going to teleport in, and...
Twin roars cracked the sky as the trees on either side of the structure began to bend and lean, as two somethings made their way through the forest towards them. He and Julian froze in their tracks, staring even as they both knew that they needed to run into the structure, get the soul gems and run. But to where? There was no sign of a gate out. The path behind them was impassable. Julian could teleport them, but not without knowing where he was going. They were stuck down here unless, and until they found a gate back. More roars. They started deep and ended in high-pitched, almost hyena laughs. The hair on the back of Christian's neck stood up on end. There was more snapping as the trees made way for the two things coming. Christian got his first glimpse of them. They stood over 12 feet tall. Their skin looked to be mottled grey. They had stump-like legs, a barrel-chested torso, and a long, bulbous head. Dozens of black eyes blinked from the faceless head. Shovel-like jaws opened and shut, revealing sharp eye teeth and also huge molars that could crush bone. Overlong arms hung to their knees, ending in monstrous hands. Every finger was tipped with a claw. The flesh there was black, and Christian wondered if there was some kind of poison on them.
Head for the building!
Julian yelled, but then one of the things brushed a brutish shoulder against the right stone wall. The wall cracked. A flare of anger appeared in the dozens of black eyes, as if the building had jumped out at the creature, and it slammed a mighty fist against the wall. It went through the stone, as if it were paper.
No.
Julian let out a moan.
We have to draw them away from the building. They could bring it down, and we'll be fishing through rubble for ages looking for the soul gems if they aren't crushed outright.
Christian cried.
Right.
Julian cast around.
The top of the path. We'll lead them up there, then I'll teleport us into the building. They'll think we just disappeared. Sound like a plan? But they'll still be here with us, and we need to find that gate.
Christian pointed out. Julian let out a wild laugh.
I can't think of anything else. It's gotta do for now.
Christian didn't answer, as Julian was right. So instead, he booked it back up the path they had just been coming down. The ground shook again, but this time from the ungainly creatures running after them. Despite their size, they were fast. But he and Julian were faster. They made it to the top of the path where the rock slide cut off their escape. Christian skidded to a halt and spun around to face their pursuers. They would need to wait to teleport until the creatures were almost upon them to confuse them fully, Christian thought. The creatures were far closer than Christian expected them to be. Julian grabbed his hand and laced their fingers together.
Get ready,
Julian said under his breath.
Get ready.
The creatures were 20 feet away, then 15, then 10. Their massive fists reached above their sloping heads, and that terrible raw hyena laugh exited their mouths as one, as they believed they had their prey. Christian swallowed, preparing his stomach for teleporting. Hopefully the amount of the interior of the building that Julian could see was enough for him to teleport them to. He smelled the creature's foul breath. His eyes flickered over to Julian. Julian, though, wasn't looking at him or the building, but at a ledge above them, where the loose rocks had rained down earlier.
I've got a better plan.
Julian let out another wild laugh. Before Christian realized what that plan was, they were teleporting up to that ledge.
Help me. Help me push this on top of them.
Julian yelled as he launched his right shoulder at a boulder that had slid down but remained precariously perched on the edge. Christian didn't need to be asked twice. He slammed his shoulder against it too. Between them, the boulder shifted and groaned. Dirt rained down upon the creatures, but they didn't seem to understand the danger they were in. Instead, the creatures jumped up and down, arms outstretched towards their prey that had somehow slipped from their grasp.
Push!
Julian shouted. Both of them strained, and the boulder, as big as a garage, moved. It rolled forward, and then free fall. The creatures realized at the last second their fate, but they only had time to open those shovel-like jaws before there was a wet splat and the crunch of bone. Blood, looking black and thick, poured out from under the boulder that had found its mark.
Yes!
Julian laughed. They gave each other a high five. Christian was grinning from ear to ear.
That wasn't as bad as I thought it would be.
Christian confessed.
Kelly really fell down on that defense.
They weren't one of my defenses. A familiar voice drawled. They were just two stupid creatures that wandered into my lair as the world falls down. Christian's head snapped towards the sound. There was a figure in black, with platinum hair standing in the doorway, leaning against the door jamb with a negligent air of grace.
Caemorn?
Julian asked. His voice was full of shock and relief, but also confusion. There was no relief, though, for Christian. The hair that had been standing up on the back of his neck because of those creatures was still standing upright.
Kaymorn, how are you here?
Julian laughed.
Not that I'm complaining, but hold on, we'll come down.
Christian grasped his best friend's arm and squeezed it so tightly that Julian's head jerked to the side.
That's not Kaymorn. I mean, it is, but...
Christian couldn't believe he hadn't seen it before, that none of them had seen it. But now, it was as plain as day or night. He would recognize that soul anywhere.
Christian, what do you... Julian, he's... Callie,
Christian said.
Kaymorn is Callie.
Join us next time for episode 126, Discovery.
While we make a little ad money from YouTube, Wraith Rain is mostly supported by our memberships, Amazon sales, and shop sales. If you subscribe to us, you get uncensored audio episodes, exclusive gay romance stories, the ability to read and comment on chapters the instant I publish them, and 60% discounts on audiobooks in our shop. Not a subscription person? You can also buy audiobooks, ebooks, and hardcovers from our shop. Links to both the sign-up page and shop are in the notes.
Lost on Everdark. Julian and Christian headed into Moonfall on their own, only to find the whole place crashing down upon them. Realizing that time was of the essence, the two of them race to where Christian senses the soul gems containing Julian's parents. They find them in a building made of pale stone, but before they are able to get them, two terrible creatures attack. While Christian and Julian successfully defeat the creatures, they find a far greater foe, Kaymorn, and that is when they realize a great and terrible truth. Kaymorn is Callie. Episode 126, Discovery. Balthazar paced along the length of the dining room table. He'd set Mephi down on one of the chairs, and the battle cat had fallen asleep in a tight little ball. Damon had gone off after the boys. He should have been able to bring them back immediately, and yet 10 minutes had passed since Damon had teleported away, and he had not returned. What is taking him so long? What's the problem? Fiona, who had been the one pacing before, now watched him out of concerned eyes as she suggested,
Perhaps you ought to sit down, Balthazar. You don't look well.
I'll sit down when Damon brings the boys back. I can sit very well then. Balthazar snapped, but she was right. He was exhausted. He felt worn thin. He didn't so much want to sit down as to collapse. But he couldn't, with Christian and Julian out doing who knew what. Christian's mind was closed to him. He wouldn't admit that his fledgling's mind was completely gone, out of reach, even though some part of him was sending out a warning signal that it was. He couldn't feel Julian's mind either. And Damon seemed to be made of stone at the moment. That can't be good. What is going on? How could Damon not stop two newly made fledglings? He reached for Damon again, but the Vampire King remained silent. There was a sense that Damon was praying. Why is he praying? What were they thinking? Where did they go? Balthazar's hands flew up in the air. They don't know where the gate to Moonfall is, so... Balthazar stopped in mid-step, and then spun around towards Kaymorn, his eyes narrowing as he hissed, "You." Kaymorn hadn't moved since the boys had left. He had sat there, upright and with his fingers laced together on the table before him like a good little schoolboy. But the flash of guilt he gave at Balthazar's words about the boys not knowing the location of the gate to Moonfall was like a bat signal to him. Kaymorn knew something. Kaymorn was responsible for something bad. He practically radiated guilt, even though his outside demeanor was still and unruffled. I trusted him. Should I have trusted him? We've been enemies for a long time. A few good deeds and I opened my house to him, opened my heart to him. What was I thinking? What did you do, Kaymorn? Balthazar asked as he stalked towards his blood brother. If he has done what I think he has, he is no brother to me. He will not survive this night if he has hurt a hair on the boys' heads. The whine of his fear and anger filled his head as he could not hear Caemorn's thoughts. Sia turned her bandaged eyes towards the Callie vampire, even as Sophia patted her mistress's shoulder. The childlike vampire seemed unsurprised by what was coming, but instead was simply sad. Sad for everyone.
Caemorn?
Sia asked, her voice soft.
It had to be done.
Caemorn stated.
Yes, it did. It did.
She agreed, and there was something in her voice that Balthazar could not read, and the whine in his head blocked out her thoughts too.
You told the boys how to get to Moonfall, Caemorn? You told them to go?
Fiona asked, her eyes huge. She looked stunned that Caemorn had betrayed them.
Yes.
Caemorn answered without a sliver of hesitation or shame. He spoke in the same tone as he would of the weather. Balthazar exploded across the room at him. His hands were on Caemorn's neck, and he had the other vampire up against the wall. Caemorn's feet were 6 inches from the ground. Balthazar hadn't even been aware of moving, and it had seemed like he had teleported, he'd gone so fast. Caemorn did not resist him, not even to put his hands up to his throat as Balthazar's fingers squeezed. "How could you do it?" Balthazar screamed. Spittle left his lips and sprayed Caemorn's face, but he didn't care. He would spit into Caemorn's face. He had sent the boys to their second deaths. "How could you betray us? We took you in. We saved you from Callie. We offered you a second chance." Betrayal and rage fed that whine in Balthazar's head, and he couldn't hear the answers to his questions or delve into the Callie vampire's mind. Had Caemorn always been a traitor? Had he somehow managed to hide his continued allegiance to Callie? But everything that Balthazar had seen in his head told him no. So what happened? The last encounter with Artemis Callie in the dungeon had not been pleasant for Caemorn. There had been no exchange to warrant this turn of events. Caemorn stayed calm, but choked out.
Because it had to be done.
Had to be done? Had to be done? Balthazar slammed Caemorn against the wall again and again until the plaster cracked, then broke altogether and tumbled to the floor. The air filled with choking white dust that coated Balthazar's tongue as he shrieked. "No, it didn't! They didn't have to go!"
They did. You know they did.
Caemorn gasped out even as his lips turned blue. I know that my newly made fledgling had to go with his best friend to Moonfall where the creatures are insane. The moons are falling. The Everdark is being destroyed. No, I did not know this. No! Balthazar shouted, but his eyes slid to Sia, who remained still and serene even with this violence. She had foreseen everything that had happened. She had admitted, though, that there were bad things that had to happen for there to be a future that Damon would want and love. But there can be no future like that without Christian and Julian. It can't be, Balthazar continued, his voice almost a child's cry. Not after everything. After waiting and... No, I just got Christian. Damon waited millennia for Julian. They can't just be taken away. It felt like he was bleeding out as he said these words. Fiona clutched the front of her shirt and looked like she might weep. Sophia's head hung like an overly large bloom on a too thin stalk. Mephi was awake as well, looking at him with questioning eyes that blinked sleepily. Why was he shouting? The cat seemed to ask. Why was he screaming? Balthazar shook Caemorn again, rattling him. Why? Why, Caemorn? After everything, why would you betray us? I thought you cared for the boys. Why?
Too cruel to make you and Damon choose.
Caemorn got out between clacking teeth.
Better to be me.
And the whine in Balthazar's head stopped, and he could hear Caemorn's thoughts as clear as day all of a sudden. Caemorn hadn't given the boys the information on how to get to Moonfall to hurt them, but to help everyone. He was taking on the guilt for sending beloved Julian and Christian to do this task, because he did not want that to lay on Damon and Balthazar's shoulders. to make the masters choose to risk their children. Caemorn had done it to spare him and Damon that horrible choice. Caemorn would be the villain. Caemorn would be hated. That was a role he was used to playing. That his actions were the very opposite did not matter. He understood Balthazar's grief and rage. He would accept it. After all he had done, it was the least he could do. He would not be worthy of the new life they were offering him if he did anything less. Damn you, Caemorn. I could have killed you. I could have. Balthazar shook his head. You're not the villain. You're one of us now. You can't just... He brought Caemorn down to the ground. His hands loosened around Caemorn's throat. Balthazar wobbled with exhaustion and fear and emotional turmoil. He swayed forward, and Caemorn caught him. As in all things where Caemorn had to deal with other people, he was awkward and stiff. But Balthazar had just been choking him, so there was that. Yet Caemorn got him into a chair that Fiona had pulled out. Balthazar sank down into it and put his face in his hands and rocked. Caemorn touched his shoulder and immediately withdrew his hand after the pat. Fiona dropped down onto her haunches and rubbed his arms as if trying to get warmth into them. She didn't have a fledgling yet, but she hurt for him. She loved the boys too.
Just what?
Caemorn's voice was gravelly. Just... Balthazar's voice trembled.
You said I cannot just... What? What can I not do?
Caemorn asked, as if it desperately mattered. You can't just leave us. I should have trusted you. I should have. I will, from now on, Balthazar told him. Guilt pricked him again. He had proved Caemorn's own low beliefs in regards to being on the outside. He had so quickly tossed the other vampire away. He hung his head. I'm so sorry. I owe you that, at least.
You can see into people's minds. If I had that gift, I would trust no one too.
Caemorn stated as he cleared his throat several times. I couldn't hear your thoughts. Not until the end there. Balthazar gritted his teeth. He had been out of control. He wasn't healed from facing Artemis Calli. He had insisted he was fine, but he was not. And he'd attacked Caemorn. I couldn't think. My head. I need the boys back. I need the boys. Fiona, can you take us to the gate?
They have to go alone, Balthazar.
Sophia interrupted.
Seer explained that. It still holds true. You don't want to undo everything now, do you?
Balthazar looked into her large silver eyes. She meant every word she said. For a moment, he saw Christian and Julian's broken bodies under white stones. He jerked away from her mind as if he had put his hands in flames.
It's true, Eros. They must do this on their own.
Seer confirmed with a sigh. With a voice still hoarse from the choking, Caemorn said,
They will come back. I have no doubt of this.
But if they don't... Balthazar's voice was suddenly hoarse too, as if he had been strangled or screaming for hours.
They will. Have faith in them.
Caemorn said.
They are stronger and more capable than we give them credit for.
Seer spoke then. Her voice was soft and still strange with that note of uncertainty yet familiarity.
You always have been the one to do the hard things, Caemorn, to make the decision that cuts the deepest for what you think must be done. You take on the burden of others.
And you have always been the one to tell unwelcome truths. I've learned to trust you.
Caemorn responded as he, too, sat down again.
You said they had to go, Seer. I knew that, no matter what anyone wanted, that there was no other way.
In Everdark, Caemorn started as the villain that you love to hate, and then became many people's favorite character as Caemorn's complex and painful backstory came out. It turns out that my readers love a redeemed villain even more than I do, and my members demanded that Caemorn get his own love story. That's exactly what I'm doing in Everdark Equinox, the third installment in the Everdark story world. If you love Caemorn, you will love not only Everdark Academy, the completed second installment, where he's a main character, but Everdark Equinox, where he literally meets his other half. While you really do need to read Everdark Academy first, you can at least check out the beautiful artwork of Caemorn and Quinn we have so far, and there will be more. Link to the story art is in the notes.
Balthazar knew that Caemorn had had Seer prisoner in the spire for centuries, so he shouldn't have been surprised by Seer's use of the word always. And yet, there was something about it that made it seem like Caemorn had been doing this for far longer.
What do you need, Balthazar?
Fiona asked.
I know you need Christian and Julian back, but what else do you need? Arceus, Elgar? Oh, wait, I know what you need. Mephi.
She went over to where the ball of fluff still sat and picked him up. She tickled Mephi under the chin and scratched between his ears before bringing him back to Balthazar. He felt a little foolish as he clutched the kitten, who gave out a piteous meow. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to squeeze you so hard," Balthazar murmured into the soft fur. Touching the animal calmed him. The aching in his head eased. He closed his eyes for a moment as he listened to Mephi purr. How could he take such comfort in a cat when Christian and Julian were missing? Yet the little animal focused him. He took a deep breath and opened his eyes, feeling more himself again. Balthazar said, "Thank you, Fiona." She nodded, acknowledging it even as she said,
Again, no thanks needed. We're all in this together, as you said. And you are rather precious with Mephi in your arms.
He snorted. "I earned that."
Who knew you would be a cat person? I like both, but prefer dogs.
She said with a grin, but that quickly faded as the weight of the situation fell upon them again. Balthazar was haunted by what Christian and Julian were being confronted with. They are adventurers. How many times did I watch them get in trouble on their show? They were mortal then, and I watched with amusement. Now, I would do anything for them to be in this world so I could help them. Balthazar reached out to Christian again. This time, when there was no sense of his fledgling at all, he accepted it as the truth. "I can't reach Christian's mind. I guess that's to be expected in Moonfall."
Why expected in Moonfall?
Fiona asked.
Moonfall isn't just separated from the other parts of the Everdark by space,
Caemorn explained.
but by time as well.
Time?
Fiona's eyebrows rose.
Meaning it's...
Out of our time stream, or so it's thought.
Caemorn waved one of his long-fingered hands through the air.
You could meet someone there that's from centuries in the past or centuries from the future. You could even meet yourself there.
Wild.
Fiona shook her head.
I had heard of Moonfall, but never really knew much about it.
I didn't encourage people to think about it as preceptor.
Caemorn pointed out.
Why?
Fiona's brow furrowed.
In Moonfall, the Everdark is being destroyed.
Caemorn explained.
What?
Fiona's eyes went huge again.
Some terrible destruction is being wrought there. They say that if you come there at the right moment, or stay too long, the whole place is destroyed and then made over again. Not that you know that, as you are no longer alive.
Caemorn stated.
That your soul is unmade, too. Many rumors are attached to it, but very little true science.
Christian will love it then, Balthazar said glumly. A scientific mystery.
Yes, Christian is wise that way. He will not let there be any shibboleths. He and Julian will investigate them all.
Caemorn agreed. If they come back.
It's the end, which is why Daemon cannot go there.
Seer added. Fiona's forehead furrowed again.
But Damon is the ultimate of the immortals. Why can't he go to a place where we can?
The Everdark and Daemon, I think, are more linked than we know.
Caemorn stated.
The creatures there reacted to his awakening before he stepped foot in Solace.
There are things that are our antithesis.
Seer answered her.
Moonfall is Daemon's. He simply cannot exist in that place of death.
Balthazar reached out to Damon again. He needed to confirm what he already knew, that Julian and Christian were in Moonfall. He touched Damon's mind again, and like before, there was this hum that reminded him of prayer. The Vampire King was so focused on this that he left a chink open in his mind's armor that Balthazar teased open and slipped inside. Damon's mind was connected to something huge and unknowable and massive, and Balthazar's skin prickled with sweat as he suddenly started to slip into the Vampire King's mind and lose himself. He was falling. He was drowning in alien thoughts and dreams, and where was he? Who was he? He was all and nothing. He was the beginning with no end. He was... No, Eiros, you cannot be here, Damon said almost sadly. Too clever for your own good. Damon! The sensation of falling stopped. He felt like someone had him by the scruff of the neck and was holding him up to look at as if he was a naughty kitten. You should not be here, my friend. But I know why you are, Damon said. You were afraid to tell me that you let them go. Our boys, our children. Balthazar's voice caught. Yes. Camorn told them where to go. He didn't want to leave that choice to us. He thought it cruel. Balthazar paused, then added, I attacked him without knowing that. You were upset. I shouldn't have done that in any case. I appreciate his actions in this. I would never have been able to do it, Damon admitted. But you did. Only because Julian and Christian had the determination and knowledge to go ahead with it, Damon admitted. I cannot go on without Julian. You won't have to. They will come back. They will. Balthazar tried to put force and belief in his voice. I will remain here for them. As soon as they return, I will bring them to the house, Damon stated. Forgive me for this, Balthazar. There's nothing to forgive, Balthazar assured him. Balthazar opened his eyes and said to the others, Damon's waiting for the boys to come back through. He let them go. He could have stopped them, but this had to happen. I don't know if he'll survive this, if Julian and Christian don't return.
If they had not gone, the whole of the world would fall,
Sia said, as Sophia patted her, recognizing the heavy weight her mistress carried in her truth-telling. It comes down to our two fledglings. Good God! They have to come back. Tell me that they will come back, Sia, Balthazar demanded.
I can't.
She lowered her head.
It's a turning point, and I cannot see beyond it until there is a choice made. Moonfall being out of time makes this more difficult.
So we just wait? Balthazar asked. What is this choice? Who is making it? Can we convince them somehow from here to come down in our favor? Sia opened her mouth. He could almost see her lips forming the word no. But then she stopped. Her head lifted, and though her eyes were still missing or regenerating beneath a bandage, appearing to be seeing all of them. Then the faintest smile appeared on her lips. She murmured,
Actually, we already have.
How can that be?
Camorn frowned.
Unless time... but...
The Cali vampire went silent. Stroking his chin, his mind was a whir. But Balthazar was simply too tired to go through the twists and turns of Camorn's consciousness to find out what he was thinking. My head hurts, Sia. Can you not just speak plainly? Balthazar practically begged.
I'm sorry, Balthazar, but I cannot say more. Just know that you've done everything you can to make the decision coming in our favor.
Sia answered. Balthazar's right knee started to jump up and down. He couldn't sit still, but he was too exhausted to get up. The whine in his mind was back. He kissed Mephi's fuzzy head to self-soothe.
I suppose there's no chance of you actually resting, though you really need it,
Fiona said quietly as she stood and stretched. No, I can't. Not until they're back, Balthazar said. There was a sudden knock on the door. It was Ridley. Her mind was awash in anxiety and excitement. A flood of her thoughts came to Balthazar. Men and women with guns, black helicopters, grenades, UV flashbangs, even garlic crossers and stakes. Balthazar laughed at the last. The FBI were going to be outside House Ravenscroft in minutes. And evidently, they believed in vampires after all. Join us next time for episode 127, Change.
While we make a little ad money from YouTube, Wraith Rain is mostly supported by our memberships, Amazon sales, and shop sales. If you subscribe to us, you get uncensored audio episodes, exclusive gay romance stories, the ability to read and comment on chapters the instant I publish them, and 60% discounts on audiobooks in our shop. Not a subscription person? You can also buy audiobooks, ebooks, and hardcovers from our shop. Links to both the sign-up page and shop are in the notes.
Last on Everdark, Balthazar realized that it was Kaemorn who told the boys how to find the Moonfall Gate and get through it. Balthazar attacked Kaemorn, believing that he betrayed them. Only at the last moment did he realize that Kaemorn acted to help and not to hurt, as the boys' actions in Moonfall are necessary to secure the future. Kaemorn acted so the two masters wouldn't have to. Episode 127, Change. Julian blinked at his best friend as he said,
Kaemorn is...
Callie. Yes, I am, Julian. Won't you two come down?
Kaemorn gestured for him and Christian to jump down from the cliff.
That wall is going to shake apart soon. It's not safe. Not that you'll be hurt, but still. It'll be easier to talk as well.
If you're Callie, then we don't have much to say.
Julian barked back, anger filling him.
You've taken Kaemorn's soul, and no.
Christian's hand on his forearm squeezed tighter, stopping him from speaking. His best friend was rigid and staring at Kaemorn with all his might, as if he could see through the immortal. And maybe he could. Julian could almost feel the Eiros power working within him.
I don't understand.
Christian muttered and shook his head.
What?
Julian did not bother to cast his voice down low. Kaemorn would have been able to hear them anyways.
He doesn't understand how I can be the same and still be Callie.
Kaemorn answered helpfully. Julian's head snapped towards him.
So you've just been pretending all this time?
But that didn't ring true to him. Even the most consummate actor could not have pulled off what Kaemorn had. Damon would have known.
He wasn't pretending. He wasn't lying. He didn't know.
Christian murmured and shook his head. Kaemorn nodded.
You understand, Christian. Such a good student already. Now please come down before the wall tumbles.
Just because you didn't know who you were before, you do now. I think we should stay up here.
Julian called down. Kaemorn laughed. Not evilly, not sinisterly, but fondly, and maybe a little sadly.
Seeing you two now, as you were before everything. It's poignant and harder than I thought.
How is that exactly?
Julian asked, just to keep the conversation going. His eyes flickered all over the space. He cocked his head slightly. He drew in deep breaths, flaring his nostrils. He looked, listened, and tried to smell even the way out of here.
But my parents, I can't leave them.
But he wouldn't put Christian in danger either. He had already caused his best friend to lose his first life. He wouldn't let Christian lose his second. He would get Christian through this, and then face Callie himself.
The gate's not here yet,
Kaemorn said. That had Julian snapping towards him again.
What do you mean?
Kaemorn spread his arms.
A gate out of here hasn't been created yet, but it will be, in time. Come, we really must. You're going to be knocked down.
And sure enough, there was a low rumble that Julian felt in the soles of his feet that ran up his calves as the rumbling grew louder and louder. There was a crack, and the stone snapped apart beneath their feet.
Shit! Jump!
Julian cried. He and Christian had no choice but to leap off of the cliff and onto the ground below. Kaemorn gestured for them to come to him, to the stone structure, as his silver eyes were fixed behind them.
Come on! It's all coming down! You'll be crushed!
Kaemorn cried. Julian heard the crack crack, crack, as the entire cliff face split into boulder-like pieces and fell apart. All of those boulders started to roll down towards them. He and Christian exchanged one look, and then they dashed past Camorn into the structure. Camorn followed after and swung 2 heavy doors shut.
Help me!
Camorn demanded as he braced himself against the doors. Christian and Julian jumped over to him and braced as well. There were booms. The doors shuddered. Dust sifted down from up above as the whole structure shook.
Is this place going to collapse on us?
Julian asked Camorn.
According to the 2 of you, no.
Camorn answered, even as he flinched when there was a terrible groaning noise all around them.
According to us?
Christian asked. His hair was full of rock dust, and it dusted his face like makeup so that he appeared pale.
Yes, you were the ones to tell me how this went.
Camorn answered. All of them froze, even stopped breathing as the thunderous sounds of falling stones ended, and there were only a few cracks and rumbles, and then silence. They still kept their shoulders against the doors for long moments.
I think it's all right,
Julian said, and slowly pulled back from the doors. They held. The others pulled back too and stared at the doors.
Well, we're not getting out that way anymore. Tons of rock are against those doors. Guess the ceiling's the best chance we've got,
Julian said as he glanced up at the roof that was open in spots.
There's no need to get out. The gate will appear here,
Camorn said as he dusted off his once pristine black robes. The robes reminded Julian of a headmaster's robes, but more goth. Camorn wore black trousers tucked into knee-high black boots. He had on a tunic with an elaborate sash around his waist done in silver embroidery. There was a crest on the center, a skull with a crown. The tunic had a high Chinese-type collar that framed Camorn's almost delicate white throat. The cloak was longer in the back than the front and had a deep hood.
What are you wearing?
Julian asked. Camorn lifted a pale eyebrow and his lips twitched a bit.
I forgot. You don't know because it hasn't happened yet.
What are you talking about? What hasn't happened? And what do you mean that we told you about the rock slide and the doors not breaking?
Julian demanded. This was Callie. He should have been afraid or furious, but instead he simply felt frustrated yet relatively calm.
I don't sense any malice from him. This isn't the person who attacked us at the museum,
Julian thought.
But if Camorn is Callie, this makes no sense.
I told you that Moonfall is out of time. You can access it from any time period on Earth or the Everdark.
Camorn explained patiently.
People from years apart, centuries, even millennia can meet here at the same time.
So you're from the future?
Christian asked, his face screwing up. Camorn nodded and smiled.
Exactly.
We told you what happened here because when we go back to Earth, it'll be before you come here?
Julian asked, figuring it out. Another nod.
Yes, you'll tell me what happened. You'll tell me everything.
What's everything?
Christian tilted his head to the side.
I'm so glad you asked that. But first...
Camorn went over to a desk at the far wall. The room reminded Julian of a disused church that had been turned into a study of sorts. There were bookcases on the walls, though no books were there any longer. They were in boxes, as if someone were moving. The desk had a lit candelabra on it, and an open book in front of a chair, as if Camorn had been sitting here, reading.
Waiting for us.
There was also a soft cloth bag to the right of the book. Camorn picked it up and offered it to Julian.
What's that?
Julian asked, not reaching back. Julian, those are your...
Parent soul gems. You'll need these before you go back so I can undo what I did.
Camorn stated, and shook the bag at him. Julian snatched it out of Camorn's hand and clutched it to his chest. The bag felt warm, almost as if he could feel his parents' living skin. Camorn's expression shocked him, as it was sad and happy at the same time.
I know how much you've suffered, Julian, without them.
Camorn said softly, his eyes shadowed. Julian's eyes flashed with anger.
You don't get to talk about that. If you're Callie...
That, if, again.
Camorn shrugged, as if amused.
You just seem like Camorn,
Julian admitted.
I wondered when you changed your mind about me, when you considered me a friend.
Camorn stated and smiled.
When you caught sight of me on the cliff, your voice was so relieved. That was the moment, I think.
I consider Caemorn a friend or something.
He had been relieved to see Caemorn. Ecstatic, really, because the Calais vampire was one of the smartest people he knew, and if anyone was going to get them out of Moonfall safely, it would have been him, since Damon and Balthazar could not be there.
We've been friends for so long, and this time, your time, rather, was so painful for me that I never asked.
Caemorn leaned back against the desk, resting on it and smiling that fond smile again.
It's strange because the three of us, well, we talk about so much. And Balthazar practically lives inside my head most of the time while we run the academy. But
Academy?
Julian couldn't help but interrupt. It was a fascinating idea that he was talking to someone from the future. A future where things weren't maybe so dire as now. Caemorn grinned.
No matter what Balthazar tells you later, it was my idea.
If you're from the future, we get out of here safely.
Christian said. Caemorn nodded.
Indeed you do.
There was a high-pitched shrieking, followed by more rumbling from outside that had him and Christian cringing and waiting for the roof to fall on them.
Well, I suppose there could be multiple futures where maybe things don't work out, but I'm pretty sure of this one.
Caemorn said after it quieted down. Julian stared at him hard. His Eiros gift did not seem to be working, though, or maybe Caemorn was simply able to block him.
If he is Callie, he would be able to do that. Then again, I'm new, so Caemorn could block me too.
His eyes slid to Christian.
He's not blocking Christian, though.
Christian was still regarding Caemorn with a head tilt. His eyes had that look he got when he'd found a fascinating puzzle and was trying to work it out.
You're the original Callie,
Christian suddenly said. Julian frowned at him.
That can't be. We know that Caemorn was turned by Artemis.
You are both right.
Callie said.
How? Or better yet, just tell us how to find the gate. You claim to be Caemorn and Callie. You claim we survive. You claim to be our friend, so get us out of here.
Julian insisted as he tenderly tucked his parents' soul gems into his front right pocket.
We have to discuss other things first.
Caemorn said.
If the future is going to work the way it should.
What things?
Christian asked, tensing slightly. Caemorn chuckled.
You can read my mind, but you're still suspicious, Christian. That is why you are my greatest student.
Christian pinked.
Oh, I didn't. That is something, I suppose.
Explain what you mean so we can get out of here, Caemorn.
Julian said with a nervous glance at the roof. He could see the shattered moons above them. Chunks of them were streaking towards the Everdark. If they were here when the chunks hit, it would be over like it had been over for the dinosaurs.
You have a chance to know the future and you are still impatient.
Caemorn scolded, but it was mild and affectionate.
That hasn't changed. Always moving, always wanting to explore. Not much for explanations. Show, don't tell, Caemorn. That's what you always tell me.
Julian and Christian exchanged a look. Did they believe this closeness with Caemorn? He could tell that Christian was curious. He was, too, if he admitted it to himself. Julian had been thrilled to see him before the Callie thing. Was it so hard to believe that they had a future as close friends?
But I need to talk about the past, not the future.
Caemorn said.
And I think that showing would be better. Christian, it's time for you to learn something that not even Balthazar knows how to do yet. Or I should say, that he doesn't remember yet.
You can teach me this, even though it's an Eiros gift?
Christian asked.
I have come to know much of the Eiros gift.
Caemorn nodded and extended a hand to Julian's best friend.
Take my hand and take Julian's. My memories will pass from me to the two of you. You'll see how it was. You'll understand.
We're going to have to really trust you here to do this.
Julian pointed out.
Yes, that's true. But you're a risk taker, both of you. This is just one more risk for incredible rewards.
Caemorn waggled his fingers.
I see no lie in his mind. No malice either.
Christian said.
So you think we should do this, Christian?
Julian asked.
We've done crazier things, and I don't see or sense any gate anywhere near.
Christian told him.
So we have some time to spare.
This is insane, and both Balthazar and Damon would kill us themselves for considering it.
Julian laughed.
The two of you would age them if that were possible with your antics.
Camorn said with a smirk.
That hasn't changed either.
You feel the same to me now as you did back on Earth.
Christian said to Camorn.
You aren't like Callie at all, except...
Except I am. All will be explained.
Camorn offered his hand again. With one final look between him and Christian, his best friend took Camorn's hand and then reached for Julian's. The moment their fingers touched, there was a rushing sensation similar to that of entering a gate. The world blurred.
We're like the little publisher that could, and do a lot of work for such a small team. Wraith Rain puts out new releases, sales, new art, previews of upcoming stories, and at least 2 free books or manga every month. If you don't want to miss anything, you have 2 options. One is to keep coming back to our YouTube community tab, which we use as a blog for quick announcements and polls. The other is to join our mailing list, where we go into even more detail. The link to both the community tab and our mailing list form is in the notes.
When it cleared again, they were no longer in the little building in the forest clearing. They were...
What is this place? Where is this place? The Everdark? Yes, but not Moonfall.
The sky looked scalded over. Storm clouds moved continuously across it, blocking out any chance of sun or moon or starlight. There was tall grass in patches on the wet earth. Julian looked down at his feet and saw the ground was soaked with blood, not water. He took a few staggering steps back, rather like a cat that didn't like the texture of the ground beneath its paws, but he was held in place. He still was grasping onto Christian's hand.
What is this? What the hell is this?
Julian gasped in horror. The plain ran from horizon to horizon. He saw that in addition to the waving long grass, there were lumps on the ground.
People.
Julian thought and then amended.
Bodies.
The wind blew past him. It was tainted by the overwhelming scent of copper. But Julian's fangs did not come out. He wanted to vomit. He looked over at Camorn. The Callie vampire was staring away from them towards 3 other people who stood in the bloody field. He called out the one he recognized.
Seer!
The immortal was dressed in all white, flowing white robes that pooled on the ground, somehow not soaking up blood. She didn't have a bandage around her eyes either. They were yet to be plucked out. Her eyes were silver, like all vampires except for him and Damon's. She did not turn to him at his call. He tried to move towards her, but again he was frozen where he was. He frowned.
This is a memory, Julian. She can't hear you. None of them can. Only in Moonfall can the past, present, and future meet.
Camorn told him.
We can just watch.
Who are those 2 with Seer?
Julian asked. Camorn pointed to a handsome man with olive-toned skin, patrician features, and dark hair sweeping down to his mid-back. There was something about his expression, wry, almost mirthful, like he knew a secret that no one else did, that had Julian guessing who he was before Camorn confirmed it.
Iros?
Camorn said with a nod and smile.
You know Sia, of course, and that is me.
The person pointed out as Callie had the platinum hair and fine features that typified many Callie vampires. They looked to be in their 30s, but they could have been older or younger. Their eyes were ancient. Why have you summoned us here, Callie? Iros snarled.
This was early in the war.
Camorn said as an aside.
Later, Iros would never meet me. Fear and loathing will overcome him, but for now, he still believes he can survive this.
But he doesn't. We know he doesn't.
Christian whispered.
He will not die here, but he and I will die eventually. But death is not the end, Christian. Remember that.
Camorn reminded them. So tell me why I shouldn't rip your mind into shreds, Callie. Do it quickly, or I'm leaving. Iros snarled.
Carly has asked us here because they have finally admitted that they have lost control. As if that wasn't evident from the death all around us.
Seer said quietly. They lost their damned mind when they killed Asher, Iros roared. This is just the icing on a cake.
That wasn't me.
Callie said with a grimace.
Nor was this.
Who else could it have been? You're saying that another Callie vampire could have taken down Asher? Another Callie vampire can take on all of the immortals? Surely you jest. Iros laughed bitterly.
Not another Callie vampire, but another Callie. Another me.
Callie clarified. They lifted their arms to their sides, and the almost diaphanous gown they wore was shown to be threaded through with diamonds. It glittered under the stormy sky.
I spread myself too thin.
What are you talking about? Iros's eyes narrowed.
I've been experimenting,
Callie said, their voice low and melodious.
I went too far.
A snort from Iros. What a surprise. You going too far? Never. Please. Iros shook his head in disgust. And yet you still refuse to take responsibility. Another Callie did this. Not you, but someone else.
Not me. Not exactly me. My slices.
Callie interrupted. Slices? Iros scoffed.
You are quick to blame me for this war, Iros. But all of the immortals played a part in this disaster, didn't we? None of us is without blood on our hands, except for Asher. That's only because my slices killed him first. Wherin has gone mad and is slaughtering everyone he can see. You believe you're too clever and are trying to control all of us, only to control no one, including yourself. Wyvern, Mirror, and Helm are hiding or running off.
There was a sneer on that lovely face.
I could list how all of us failed and have become our worst selves from the moment Damon went to sleep. My slices have been taking advantage of our predictability.
And things will only get worse.
Sia murmured. Iros's gaze snapped between her and Callie, as if uncertain which person was saying something more concerning. He finally settled on Callie. Slices. What are you talking about, Callie? Iros asked again.
I split my soul into parts. Many parts.
Callie explained. You did what? Iros's eyes went huge.
There are dozens of me out there. Too many to count, really. I didn't notice the warning signs that each slice of me wasn't as complete as I was, and that they were hiding things from me.
Callie continued with a shake of their head.
Each one has become more and more unstable. That's why they started this war. That's why they keep killing.
You're unstable when you're whole. And you decide to slice that tattered mind of yours into dozens of pieces? Iros shook his head in disgust.
They have gone beyond me. They have their own ideas, their own destinies, or so they think.
Callie replied wearily.
But I believe that this war would have occurred even without their interference.
Oh, that's rather arrogant of you.
But it's true. You won't see it. You won't believe it. Which is why I am more than certain that it would have happened.
Callie interrupted Iros with a grimace.
But I admit that my slices did start it. I tried to stop them, but they've gone beyond my reach. I am seen as much as an enemy as you are.
Because you disagree with what they've done?
Sia asked. Callie nodded after a momentary hesitation. Well, how do we fix your little mistake, Callie? Iros demanded. If I'm inclined to help at all, which I'm not saying I am.
We can't fix it. Not the three of us. At least, not now. Only in the future will I be strong enough to restore myself with Damon's support.
Callie answered. A bark of laughter left Iros, and he began to pace the field in short, sharp steps. Damon! Damon's support? That's always what you need. Damon isn't here, Callie. He won't be for centuries, millennia. You know this. What are we going to do in the meantime? It wasn't Callie who answered, but Sia.
The two of you will die.
Iros slammed to a halt and looked as if someone had brained him with a 2x4. Callie appeared unsurprised, but more weary than anything else.
They both do die. Iros is reborn as Balthazar, and Callie is reborn as Camorn.
Julian put together. That's impossible! Iros practically stamped his feet, which amused Julian no end. He would have to tell Balthazar about it. Where?
You will die and be reborn and then rejoin us, completely unaware of who you once were.
Seer said as she touched the center of her forehead, where the third eye was supposed to reside.
We are too far down this path for any other outcome.
And why are we so far down this road, Seer? Why didn't you warn us? Why didn't you stop this? I'm not dying, Iros growled, hands fisting at his sides. Seer slowly lowered her head.
You know why, Eros. I do not use my gift for your benefit, but for
Damon's.
Callie whispered.
What does Damon get from this future?
everything he wants.
Seer answered, lifting her eyes to meet both of theirs.
If this is truly a memory, then Seer must know the truth about you, Camorn, but she's mentioned nothing.
Christian pointed out.
And she wouldn't lie about stuff like that to Damon and Balthazar.
Julian added.
You are not wrong about that or her. All will be explained.
Camorn said.
Damon cannot want this war. Cannot want what my slices intend to do in the end, so...
Callie let that word hang.
Everything that is happening now had to happen.
Seer replied with a dry smile. Maybe Callie is immune to the idea of death, but I am not. Damon would not want me to die. He needs me by his side. He loves me. Iros shook his head.
Indeed he does, Eros, and you will be by his side once more, just not as you are now.
Seer explained patiently. Julian thought of how naturally Damon and Balthazar had become close. Even Balthazar's thorns had only drawn Damon closer to him out of sympathy rather than thrusting him away.
Beyond dying, there is another thing that neither of you will like, but must happen to accomplish Damon's favored outcome.
She continued. Iros's silver eyes narrowed. What?
The only way that this works properly in the end is for you two to become friends.
She answered. There was a beat of silence.
Then we are doomed.
Callie stated simply.
No, for there are others who will help you see the way.
Seer turned her head, and Julian swore she was looking at him.
Does she see us?
Julian asked. Camorn opened his mouth, but then just shrugged.
She sees the future, Julian. We are in the future. She could know that this is happening.
Seer turned back to Iros and Callie, who were glancing in the direction she had been and frowning, likely because they didn't see anything or sense anyone.
Carly, you must explain exactly how this splitting of your soul was accomplished and how to bring yourself back together. Explain it as if you were speaking to your future self right now.
She told them. Julian's eyes widened.
She's having Callie tell us so we can tell him. Tell Camorn when we get back.
Yes, we have to remember all of this, Julian.
Christian took out his phone and opened the recording app.
Christian, we are not really here.
Camorn reminded him.
There is no phone in your hand, let alone one that could record this.
Okay, but maybe imagining it will make me remember everything better.
Christian said, and hit record anyway.
You will remember.
Camorn assured him. They listened to Callie's very precise explanation. Julian and Christian repeated it to one another. The phone recorded. When they reached the end, silence fell again. Iros, as was his wont, ended it. Now what? Iros asked. Is Callie just going to take my soul now? Get this second death over with?
No, I'm afraid not. You will have to go on, Eros, for some time. The last of us who were still fighting to fall. And...
Here she paused.
You will not even remember this meeting or our future to comfort yourself with. At least not for some time.
The only way I am not going to remember something is if I seal my own memory away from myself, and I have no intention to do that.
You need to, Eros. You must. For Damon.
Seer interrupted him. Iros shook his head and started to pace. I cannot believe you. To use him against me like this.
I'm not using Damon against you. I am merely telling you the truth. In order for Damon's best future to come into being, you must remove not only your own memory of this meeting and the future, but Carly's and mine as well.
She insisted. Why? Iros stared at her.
Because the other Kali slices must not know.
She answered.
That's why none of them remember.
Julian breathed.
Iros took their memories of all of this away.
Yes, Iros was able to restore our minds. Will be able to after you tell him about this.
Camorn answered.
Well, he will remember this moment. You will show him, Christian.
Iros considered both Kali and Seer. His gaze swept over the bloody field and the scorched sky. He finally looked at the other two immortals again. If Damon saw this, Iros's arms raised, then lowered. If he saw, if he knew.
He will know, Eros. He will forgive us even if he does not forgive himself. But that is because he will have his child with him,
she said.
You always said that you would do anything to give him a child, Iros.
Kali said. Iros whirled around. He was trembling. And what will you give? Death is nothing to you. Nothing at all. Kali's expression grew distant.
I will know that I am no better than the rest of you when it comes down to it.
The great Kali, down in the dirt with the rest of us. Iros scoffed again.
Yes, my illusions that I cared for Damon more and would protect him best will be gone.
Kali's voice sounded haunted. Iros stared at them. His expression slowly softened. He believed what Kali was saying. He understood what a terrible weight Kali was willing to accept. What of you, Seer? You don't speak of your death. What does this glorious future ask of you? Iros asked. Seer passed a hand over her eyes, but only said,
Sometimes death is better.
Julian thought of her lost eyes and the endless millennia trapped in the spire. She knew that was going to happen, and she accepted it for the future that she foresaw with happiness for others.
I must make sure she gets some reward,
Julian thought.
If there is any way for this to be made up for, it must be done. What she's endured, what they've all endured, and paid for this future.
We have tarried here too long,
Kali said with a worried shift of their feet.
Do what must be done, Iros, before the slices find us.
Iros grimaced, but he nodded. He would do it. Julian let out a breath he hadn't realized he'd been holding. This was the past. It had already happened, but he saw how narrowly this had been accomplished. Come closer and open your minds to me, Iros said with a sigh. The two immortals did. Iros placed his hands over their foreheads, and suddenly everything went dark again. There was a rushing sound, and once more Julian, Christian, and Camorn were back in Moonfall, in the fallen-down building with the fallen-down world all around them. Julian swayed.
Whoa! Whoa! That was wild.
Christian nodded as he released both their hands and brought his own up to his forehead.
I can't believe it. The three of you worked together in the end.
Yes, we did.
Camorn dusted off his outfit once more.
And then he can remind Sia and I.
Christian was looking at Camorn curiously.
How will you take it? Finding out you're Kali. After everything the slices have done to you, I can't imagine this was a revelation that was easy to take.
Camorn's eyes went distant as he thought about this.
It explained a lot of things, and,
There was a twinkle in his eyes now.
And I've always thought I was special.
Julian let out a snort.
Yeah, I guess you are special, Camorn. Or should I call you Kali?
Camorn is fine. I rather like it.
Camorn told him. There was a whirring sound, and suddenly the back of the building glowed with runes. It was a gate.
Ah, I see you did it, Julian.
Camorn said with satisfaction.
Did what?
Julian blinked.
Summoned a gate for us.
Camorn flashed a smile.
Very well done.
Camorn went over to the back wall. He used his fingernails to draw blood from his right wrist. Then he made an infinity symbol on the stone. The wall turned opaque. Camorn gestured for them to go through. Julian put a hand over the gems in his pocket, feeling their warmth, and then he thought of Damon and Balthazar.
Right, let's go,
Julian said. Christian nodded, and the two of them moved to the gate. But Camorn remained standing to the side.
Aren't you coming? This place is falling apart,
Julian said, pausing for a moment.
There's some time yet. I have some things I need to do, and then I'll be following after you.
Camorn assured him. Julian still hesitated.
Don't wait too long, okay?
Camorn flashed him a smile.
I will be there when you get back, and I will be back in my time for you as well. Do not worry, Julian.
I'm not. I'm just... Okay, I am worried. Just stay safe, Camorn.
Julian told him, feeling awkward, yet somehow wanting to say this.
Julian, Christian.
Camorn said, as they were both turning towards the gate. They both looked back.
When Iros said it was impossible for things to be different between us, he didn't know about the two of you. You've both changed everything.
Julian shook his head.
You were willing to change, Camorn. That was what mattered.
And with that, Julian grabbed Christian's hand, and the two of them went through the gate. Join us next time for episode 128, Shock and Awe and Fun.
While we make a little ad money from YouTube, Wraith Rain is mostly supported by our memberships, Amazon sales, and shop sales. If you subscribe to us, you get uncensored audio episodes, exclusive gay romance stories, the ability to read and comment on chapters the instant I publish them, and 60% discounts on audiobooks in our shop. Not a subscription person? You can also buy audiobooks, ebooks, and hardcovers from our shop. Links to both the sign-up page and shop are in the notes.
Last on Everdark. Julian and Christian went back in time with Camorn to see how the Callie slices can be absorbed and the future secured. Now we return back to Earth and a very anxious Damon. Episode 128, Shock and Awe and Fun. Damon opened his eyes the moment that Julian and Christian practically flew out of the gate. He stood up in a graceful movement. The communion ended as he moved from knees to feet, but he did not need the comfort of it right now. His child and Christian had returned.
Damon!
Julian cried.
My king!
Christian got out, and then they could say nothing more, as Damon had swept them both into his arms and crushed them against his chest. There were muffled oofs and ahs and we're okay and sorry, had to do it and love you. He just squeezed them and rocked them and kissed both of their foreheads. They were unharmed. They were safe. They had succeeded. He could feel fate aligning like puzzle pieces slotting into place to fill in the big picture. He smiled so hard that his face hurt with it. His heart leaped with joy. He closed his eyes again, but this time with happiness, and buried his face in the boy's hair, breathing them in and rocking them as if they were true children. They hugged him back. He wasn't sure how long they spent like that, but both boys were calmed down when he pulled back to see their faces and to allow them to breathe. Bright eyes looked up at him. Faces were flushed with excitement and knowledge and so much to tell him. He could have just read their minds. He could have just looked into the future, but he held himself in the moment. This moment.
Damon, we're okay!
Julian blurted out. Yes, I can see. Damon smiled broader. He had feared never hearing Julian's voice again, a voice that was utterly precious to him. Time to him had little meaning. So though he had known Julian for a very short time in the grand scheme of things, Julian was still the person he had been waiting for forever.
We're sorry, but we had to do it.
Julian's eyes searched his face for understanding, not daring to touch Damon's mind. You should not be sorry, especially when it was something you had to do, Damon told him.
But still, I know.
Julian broke off. He had touched Damon's mind. There was a wound there just from having Julian and Christian gone for, what, not even an hour of this planet's time.
If we hadn't done it...
Things would not have gone well here. Damon nodded. He pressed another kiss to Julian's right temple and held his lips there. I know you did what was best. I did not have the strength to. to ask you to do it.
Julian didn't want to leave you, and I didn't want to leave Balthazar.
Christian said.
But it was essential we did, especially considering what we found out and who we found there.
Julian nodded vigorously, and a smile tugged at his lips.
Yeah, this is sorta gonna blow your mind.
Is it? Damon tilted his head to the side now, very tempted to find out what they had discovered. Knowledge was on the tip of his tongue, but he held back. Julian put his hands on Damon's chest. His fledgling felt how fragile he had been, how near to destruction. Julian's eyes were filled with concern, and the warmth of his hands felt like a benediction.
We are sorry. Leaving you was
the only choice you could make, Damon repeated. No more apologizing. You must tell me. What have you found out? That smile bloomed to life on Julian's face again, but this time, full on.
I've got my parents.
He pulled out the soul gems like an exhibit. Damon touched the cloth pouch and felt the Harrow's life forces within them. He smiled and nodded. Yes, yes. So good to feel them again. I remember them. Julian's eyes were dancing with even greater amusement and excitement again as he said,
And I'm pretty sure the K-Morn can actually bring them back, because K-Morn is
Callie. Damon finished and let out a chuckle. Of course he is.
You knew?
Julian goggled, as well as looking a little crestfallen. He shouldn't have stolen Julian's thunder, but it had just burst out of him. Not until this moment. But I should have when he said he could bring your parents back, and meant it. Damon explained. A fledgling cannot do more than a master, and certainly not more than an immortal master. Julian nodded his head as a broad smile crossed his lips.
Yeah, that totally makes sense, and that means he really can bring them back. I will get them back.
Damon nodded. Yes, I felt he was telling the truth then. Now I know he was.
He's not aware, King Damon, of who he really is.
Christian quickly got out.
He has no idea. But there's more than that. Iros, Seer, and Callie all got together when the war was raging, trying to stop it. His other selves...
Damon held up a hand and patted Christian's cheek. It's all right, Christian. I know. I can hear your thoughts loud and clear. Making Callie whole again will be our first. Wait a moment. Damon stopped as he heard Balthazar's mind voice in his head. They have crosses, holy water. They even have crossbows that shoot wooden stakes. Balthazar was sending to him with a hysterical tint of laughter in his mind's voice. The U.S. government believes in vampires. How unexpectedly delightful. Balthazar, Christian, and Julian are back. Yes, I know, and I can feel their minds. That's why I'm not completely out of my mind, Balthazar answered. Now I can actually just be half mad and enjoying this upcoming crazy conflict with the FBI, CIA, and some other black ops U.S. military personnel. Exciting. Damon snorted. You need to be resting, not playing with the U.S. military. Oh, come now. We can finally show ourselves. I want to have some fun. Balthazar sulked. The three of us shall be back shortly, Balthazar. Do nothing too foolish. Damon told him. Tell the boys that they are in a lot of trouble, that we're going to punish them for this, Balthazar said, but not in a serious way. The next section of the podcast has been abridged. I thought you were both dead, and I nearly killed K-Morn for it, Balthazar whined. You have no idea how upset we were.
You didn't really hurt K-Morn, did you?
Christian's eyes flickered between him and Julian in alarm. Just squeezed him. A little, Balthazar said with a touch of guilt. But I apologized. He explained his reasoning, but the man needs to stop being a martyr. I would never have thought it of him, but he really has this complex about taking on responsibility that isn't his. He just needs to explain himself. Julian and Christian smiled at each other as Julian said wryly,
Yeah, well, he's got sort of a history with this.
What do you mean, I wonder? Oh, wait. It looks like the black bag military op is starting. Balthazar sounded so pleased. I cannot wait to face the holy water-wielding thugs. Get back here soon, or you'll miss out on all the fun. Come, Mephi, we're off to battle. Christian put a hand up on his forehead and sighed.
I'm really wondering if getting him a kitten was the best idea.
Do you think Mephi is egging him on? Or that Balthazar is showing off for Mephi?
Julian asked.
A little of column A and a little of column B.
Christian used his hands as balancers. Damon snorted. Iros has always enjoyed himself in battle. Come, we must make sure he does not have too much fun.
What's our plan with the humans?
Julian asked him. We're going to show them up close and personal how dangerous it is to go up against us. But we mustn't hurt them. Damon counseled. They are to be our subjects. Julian's eyebrows rose.
Our subjects? Well, your subjects, but...
You're the vampire prince, remember?
Christian nudged his best friend.
They are, in fact, your subjects too.
Okay, so shock and awe, but no killing?
Julian confirmed. When Damon nodded, Julian said,
You might want to let all the vampires know at the manor about the no-killing bit.
Damon passed that message along to everyone. Done. Shall we? He extended both hands to them. Julian took one, Christian the other. He used the power of Wyvern to teleport them back to Ravenscroft Manor. Not inside the manor house itself, but on the periphery of the estate, behind some bushes. Balthazar and Camorn were there. Ah, finally, Balthazar hissed. He grabbed Christian and kissed him thoroughly before wagging a finger and saying, Bad fledgling. Naughty, bad fledgling. Christian looked completely unrepentant, reaching over and scratching Mephi between the ears. The battle cat was perched, as always, on Balthazar's left shoulder.
I was not naughty. I was doing what was right.
Christian told him.
And I will do it again.
He frowned.
Of that, I'm sure.
His expression cleared.
I don't want to hurt you for the world, but...
The world was at stake. Balthazar finished and grimaced. You're going to make me age.
You have to trust us.
Christian told him. Another grimace. I know. Balthazar glanced at Damon. It's just hard to be the ones left behind.
We were actually almost perfectly safe,
Christian said with a faint laugh. He was looking at Camorn.
If you have to blame someone, Balthazar, you should blame me.
Julian answered.
I was the one who convinced Christian to go.
I wouldn't have considered doing anything else,
Christian said.
Considering I was the one to tell them where the gate was, I am the one to blame ultimately.
Camorn touched his throat, which had Balthazar wincing. Julian turned to Camorn. He stood there looking at him for long moments before he suddenly hugged the Cali vampire. Camorn stood there, stiff and bug-eyed, as Julian practically lifted him off his feet. Damon bit his inner cheek to stop from laughing, and feeling touched at the same time. Julian was forgiving Cali, though Camorn did not know it. All that had happened in Moonfall was clear to him. There was much that pleased him in it, but still, to see the Everdark crumbling like that, he shuddered, and focused on this moment.
Thank you, Camorn,
Julian said.
Thank you so much for everything.
Camorn blinked.
All I did was give you a location and a symbol.
It's more than that.
Julian squeezed him again, which silenced Camorn. The Cali vampire awkwardly patted Julian's back as the embrace continued probably longer than Camorn had ever been held. And to have Julian being the one to do it was completely unexpected. Julian continued.
It's so much more, Camorn. We'll tell you all about it after we deal with this.
Tell me.
Camorn was blinking rapidly. His gaze lifted to Damon, and confusion was evident. Damon just smiled and nodded. That had Camorn blinking more. Balthazar's eyes had narrowed, and he was looking among all of them. Like Damon, he could have just known by looking into the boys' minds what had happened, but he wanted the surprise. Julian came back by his side. Damon wrapped an arm around him. His child's mind was filled with excitement and relief. Julian leaned his head on Damon's shoulder, and Damon kissed it. He's back with me. Everything now is as it should be. The beginning of everything. He gave Julian another kiss. Julian hummed happily.
I sense your parents' souls. You have the gems.
Camorn asked. Julian nodded.
I want to hang on to them until you're ready to bring them back.
Of course.
Camorn bowed.
I'm curious about many things.
Like I said, Christian and I will tell you everything that happened.
Julian stated simply.
I promise.
We don't have time for 20 questions right now, Camorn. Though you'll be telling me too, Julian, Balthazar said. He pointed through the hedge towards where there was a street that led straight towards the manor. In a few minutes, we're going to have guests.
You look so pleased about that.
Fiona said, as she teleported into the midst of them with Arceus. Balthazar jumped. Ah! Fiona, don't sneak up on us like that.
How am I supposed to announce myself and not startle you? You've become like your cat.
Fiona said with a shake of her head.
Oh, wait, your cat has fallen asleep.
Bah! The humans are coming, yes? Balthazar asked, as he touched Mephie's black, sleeping body. Arceus, who was chuckling after recovering from the teleportation.
Yes, there's quite a few of them. 24 black vans. I was able to locate over 100 heartbeats. They should be showing up quite soon. Oh, King Damon, I didn't see you there.
Arceus quickly bowed low, and Damon waved him up.
Will you be leading this encounter?
Damon, though, shook his head. Not altogether. I want the rest of you to enjoy yourselves, though remember, no deaths. I will take care of their commanders with Julian. Balthazar, ready the people. It's time.
Wraith Rain puts out new releases, sales, new art, previews of upcoming stories, and at least 2 free books or manga every month. If you don't want to miss anything, you have 2 options. One is to keep coming back to our YouTube community tab, which we use as a blog for quick announcements and polls. The other is to join our mailing list, where we go into even more detail. The link to both the community tab and our mailing list form is in the notes.
We have vampires here from every bloodline, Balthazar said. They've been gathering all night. They're listening to me.
I love how you sound so surprised.
Camorn remarked dryly. Balthazar scowled at him. Of course they listen to me. I'm just saying. I don't know what I'm saying.
You never do,
Fiona said with a laugh.
Guys, I think our uninvited guests have arrived,
Julian said, and pointed beyond the hedge to the road. At that moment, the vans that Arceus had described appeared at the end of the street. Their headlights were out, and they were moving at speed. Though clearly roomier than Balthazar's sleek, elegant sports cars, they still reminded Damon uncomfortably of his tomb. He was truly done with small spaces. Balthazar's mind voice echoed in Damon's head as he sent the orders out to all of the vampires. People, the guests are arriving. I repeat, the guests are arriving. Let's have some fun, but no deaths. Remember, King Damon doesn't want any deaths. The vans fanned out as they reached the gates to Ravenscroft Manor and screeched to a halt. The back doors of the vans flew open as men and women in all black and bristling with weapons flowed out of them like water. They immediately began to spread out in a coordinated pattern. There were other vans pulling up on streets all around the manor, but Damon could feel the minds of over 100 vampires surrounding the estate, ready and waiting and eager for the hunt. Christian let out a soft laugh as he saw something swinging in front of one of the humans' chests.
They have crucifixes and holy water around their necks.
I know! Balthazar giggled. Oh, should we pretend it affects us at first and then, bam, take them down, like a gotcha thing? Will they pray, do you suppose? Balthazar was so giddy that he was practically doing a little dance. Christian just sighed. Fiona shook her head in amazement.
We really shouldn't use their religion against them, Balthazar.
Arceus said repressively. Don't be a spoil sport, Arceus. Balthazar grabbed his child's arm and pulled him through the bushes towards the humans. Damon heard him say out loud to the soldiers, Well, hello there. Would you like to douse me with holy water? When someone cursed and fumbled for their holy water, he heard Balthazar say, Most excellent. Oh, yes, get that crucifix out. Press it against my forehead. Is there any burning? No? How disappointing. There was a splashing noise and someone yelling, Hands up!
Get your goddamn hands up!
They know we're here.
Someone squealed. Of course we do. Balthazar laughed. We're vampires. We actually have ones that can see the future. But we just heard you coming in our minds. Yep, we can read minds. I know what you're thinking right now. Tell him, Christian. Christian sighed.
He's thinking that he should have gone to church more often, and that he shouldn't have been so dismissive of his mother saying the rosary.
The soldier whose mind had been read squealed.
How do you...
Your mother's name is Rosa, by the way, and you should really go visit her more often.
Christian answered with another sigh.
Please put that gun down. You'll just end up hurting yourself.
No way, no way, no way!
One of the humans screamed, and there was a thunking sound. Now, really, my fledgling did tell you not to lift your gun, so I had to take it away from you. There was a snap and clatter. Now I had to break it, too.
Shoot them with the stakes in the heart! In the heart!
Another soldier shouted. That's not very friendly. Balthazar tisked. I think I shall have to make you do a jig. What do you say, Christian? A jig? Or perhaps some kind of salsa dance?
He's making us seem ridiculous.
Camorn sighed.
We need to appear as the lords of the night that we are.
That's Balthazar for you. He's our king's jester.
Fiona said with another shake of her head.
I'm just going to teleport and grab some guns. I really don't want anyone to get shot tonight. Join me, Arceus.
I think that's quite a good idea.
Arceus said as they laced their fingers together.
What about you, Camorn? Want to get in on this?
Fiona asked. Camorn shook his head.
I have something else planned. Go along.
Camorn had already taken out some soul gems, and he started murmuring something to them. There was a groaning sound as the earth erupted and animal skeletons climbed out of the ground. Wolves, bears, foxes, and more. This army of skeletal animals turned as one with eyes glowing blue-white and started towards the humans. Immediately, there were screams and shots were fired.
Better get those guns, guys,
Julian suggested. Fiona and Arceus disappeared. Will you be all right, Camorn? Julian and I are going to see some humans who think they are in charge. You may come with us, if you like. Damon offered. But two bear skeletons lumbered up to Camorn, and the Cali vampire patted their dirty skulls.
Oh, I think I am going to have some fun too. I must stop Balthazar from making us look ridiculous.
Of course. Damon grinned.
Good luck with that, Camorn.
Julian chuckled.
Balthazar is intent on having a good time.
Indeed. Then I have my work cut out for me. Julian, my king.
Camorn bowed gracefully, and then he and the skeletal animals went towards the humans. Damon offered Julian his arm. Julian took it. They began to saunter out themselves.
Where are the leaders?
Julian asked. There are commanders on the ground, which are located in several vans a few blocks away. But, of course, there are the people above them that are being reported to in the downtown police department. And then there are the people...
So, are we going to take out all of them?
Julian was laughing a little and shaking his head. We will start with those locally, and then we will make the others come to us. In Nightvallen, I think. Damon explained.
Nightvallen? That's fantastic. That will definitely amaze them.
Julian cried. There was only the slightest unease in his fledgling at the thought of Nightvallen. He understood why. That was where Julian had lost his first life. You will come to love it in time. All of the memories you have of it now will be overwritten. Damon assured him. Julian touched where his parents' soul gems were.
Yeah, especially with Mom and Dad, and Christian and everybody to see it all with us.
Yes. He placed another kiss on Julian's temple. Indeed, it shall be wonderful.
I love you, Damon.
Julian said as he cuddled tighter against him. And I love you, Julian. Damon moved the bushes to the side for them to easily slide through. None of the humans noticed them, as they had other things going on. There was Camorn with his skeleton animals that had some of the soldiers literally turning and fleeing. Fiona and Arceus, along with a bunch of other wyvern vampires, appeared and disappeared after stealing weaponry. Some of them even stole clothing, like pants. It appeared that Balthazar was not the only one intent on being ridiculous. But then came the howls of real wolves as the Werin got in on the act. Packs of wolves, double the size of regular ones, surged through the soldiers, tackling them and taking them down. Huge flocks of ravens circled and dive-bombed the soldiers, causing them to drop whatever weapons they had left and cower on the ground. Lightning and thunder rippled across the sky as the Horus vampires joined in. The sky split open as if the gods themselves were angry at the soldiers. Lightning struck vehicles that exploded all around them. Damon used the Asher gift of telekinesis to make sure that they and no one else were struck by the flying vehicles or debris. They walked through the insanity without any of it touching them. Siren vampire voices were then raised that had the humans falling unconscious, or simply handing their weapons over to the vampires with tears of gratitude in their eyes. Helm vampires turned invisible and played with the soldiers, causing them to try to fight what they could not see. Holy water was splashed on one of the helm, who angrily exclaimed,
"You got my shirt wet! Oh, this is silk! It's ruined now!"
Damon and Julian walked past. Mirror vampires took on the shapes of the human soldiers, making the humans think that they were with their brethren, only to see them flash fangs. Or sometimes the mirror vampires would take on the appearance of the humans they were fighting, which caused shouts of shock and fear and humans stumbling away. He and Julian kept walking until they were well past the fighting. It really wasn't fighting, as no one had gotten hurt, and no one would. The vampires were having fun, using their gifts without regard to being seen. While last night at the museum had been freeing, tonight was a full free-for-all. Soon the street was clear of vampires and humans, and it was just him and Julian walking under the stars. The vans with the leaders weren't that far away, but Damon enjoyed simply being with his child.
Moonfall,
Julian began, then paused, then asked.
That won't ever really come to pass, will it?
Damon felt Julian's fear. Fear for him. His child was understanding that he and the Everdark were not so separate after all. You need not worry about that. Where there is creation, there must be destruction, and vice versa, Damon explained, which he knew would not completely satisfy his clever fledgling.
I just don't want you to ever...
Julian stopped. His arm tightened on Damon's.
I just never want to...
You won't. I will never leave you. I swear it. Another kiss.
Those are the vans, yeah? I can hear them freaking out inside.
Julian said as they approached 2 more vans.
They aren't seeing us, are they? No, you're using Helm. I didn't know you could use it on me, too.
Yes. They have no idea we're here, Damon said. Not yet. From inside the vans, he heard a man in a gruff voice asking,
"What's going on out there? Someone report! Report! Jesus Christ! Donovan, what's the situation?"
"I'm only hearing screaming, sir. There's so much screaming."
A female voice told him.
"We need to call in air support."
Another man cried.
"What about the surrounding houses? We couldn't do that and expect 0 casualties."
The woman objected.
"We should have come during the day. Daylight would have been our friend."
"We need them to pull back! Pull back!"
The first man screamed.
"Shall we put them out of their misery, Julian?"
Damon asked. Julian nodded. With the Asher gift of telekinesis, Damon flung the doors to the vans open, revealing the shocked people within. Terrified faces looked towards them. Damon had allowed the helm gift to end, and he and Julian were quite visible.
"Good evening,"
Damon said simply.
"Would you take me to your leader? Please."
Join us next time for episode 129.